often look round with their right shoulder just before turning right. Why would they do that? You see, when you look in the mirror, you can't see all the area around you. So to see the blind spots, what you have to do, you have to look around your shoulder to check for traffic in there.
What's the main hazard you should be aware of when following this cyclist? The cyclist may move to the left and dismount. The cyclist may get off and push their bicycle. The cyclist may swerve into the road. The cyclist may wish to turn right at the end of the road.
What's the main hazard you should be aware of when following this cyclist? Okay, if we look in here, the road is damaged. So he might swerve to avoid these potholes. So we have to be careful with him. Kudai sarak tamunguguru kharab dena. Nadadi kand do bachke dona ki daishi da sarak taraf ta rataushi. Nadadi do wajh bayad mung de sarak de ihtiyatuku. So we have to be more cautious. The cyclist may swerve into the road to avoid potholes. Basically, that's the complete answer. The cyclist may swerve into the road or move into the road to avoid potholes. Okay, so the answer would be number 3.
You're looking for somewhere to safely park your vehicle. Where would you choose to park? At or near a bus stop? On the approach to a level crossing? Near the brow of a hill? In a designated parking space?
You're looking for somewhere to safely park your vehicle. Where would you choose to park? The safest place. Is it safer to park near a bus stop? No. On approach to a level crossing? No. Near a brow of a hill? No. In the area that's designed for parking. Okay, so you have to park it in the area that's designed for parking. So that's number D.
Where should you take particular care to look for motorcyclists and cyclists? On one-way streets? At junctions? On dual carriageways? At zebra crossings?
Where should you take particular care to look for motorcyclists and cyclists? Where should you take particular care to look for motorcyclists and cyclists? At junctions and bends. At bends and junction.
You're turning right onto a dual carriageway. What should you do if the central reservation is too narrow to contain your vehicle? Stop in the first lane so that other vehicles give way. Wait until the road is clear in both directions. Emerge slightly to show your intentions. Proceed to the central reservation and wait.
You're turning right onto a dual carriageway. What should you do if the central reservation is too narrow to contain your vehicle? If the central reservation is too narrow to contain your vehicle, what you have to do? You will have to wait until there is no traffic on both sides of the road. So wait until the road is clear in both directions.
What do the yellow lines along the edge of the road mean? Pedestrians shouldn't cross where there are yellow lines. They are rumble strips. They mark the edge of the road. No waiting.
Okay, so what's these yellow lines? So if it's a single yellow line, no waiting or no parking at certain times. If it's double yellow line, no waiting or no parking 24 hours a day. So that's no waiting.
You've been involved in an argument that's made you feel angry. What should you do before starting your journey? Have an alcoholic drink. Turn on your radio. Open a window. Calm down.
You're being involved in an argument that's made you feel angry. What should you do before starting your journey? You have to calm down. Do not drive. Calm down. So calm down.
What should you do to avoid fuel spillage? Check that your filler cap is securely fastened. Check that your fuel gauge is working. Check that you've used a locking filler cap. Check that your tank is only 3/4 full.
What should you do to avoid fuel spillage? You make sure that the filler cap is securely fastened. Check that your filler cap is securely fastened.
You're following a long vehicle as it approaches a crossroads. What should you do if it signals left but moves out to the right? Assume the signal is wrong and that it's turning right. Stay well back and give it room. Get closer in order to pass it quickly. Overtake it as it starts to slow down.
You're following a long vehicle as it approaches a crossroad. What should you do if it signals left but moves out to the right? Why would they signal left and moves out to the right? Because big vehicles or long vehicles, they need more space to turn around. So what do we have to do? We have to allow them to turn. So what do? We stay well back and allow them to turn and give it room, or give them space to turn. So stay well back and give it room.
You're driving on an open road in dry weather. What distance should you keep from the vehicle in front? 1 car length. A 2-second time gap. 2 meters, 6 feet 6 inches. 2 car lengths.
You're driving on an open road in dry weather. What distance should you keep from the vehicle in front? So on a dry road, it's 2 seconds. On a wet road, it's 4 seconds. And how many seconds when it's icy? Does anyone know how many seconds when it's on icy road? On icy road, does anyone know how many seconds gap should we leave with the vehicle that's in front of us? Not 10 seconds. It's 20 seconds, no 10. It's 20 seconds. Remember that, guys. In seconds, it's 20 seconds. That's 10 times of the normal distance. Normal distance is 2 seconds. 10 times the normal distance, 10 multiplied by 2, so that's 20 seconds. In seconds, it's 20 by times, it's 10 times the normal distance, okay? It's not 10 seconds. Okay, so on a dry weather, it's a 2-second time gap.
Why does the cyclist take the longer route around the roundabout? Cyclists may keep to the left for safety. To avoid being dazzled by the sun. It's easier to give arm signals while you're on the left. The cyclist is riding into a one-way street.
Why does the cyclist take the longer route around the roundabout? Okay, let's see. Where is the cyclist? Okay. If you look at these cars, they're driving more to the middle of the road. And if you see the cyclist, he's keeping more to the left. If you look at the cyclist, he's keeping more to the left. Why? So he's not in the line of the traffic. So he's not in the line of the traffic for his safety, okay? The cyclist may keep to the left for his or her safety.
What's the national speed limit for a car or motorcycle on a motorway? 70 miles per hour. 60 miles per hour. 50 miles per hour. 80 miles per hour.
What's the national speed limit for a car or motorcycle on a motorway? The speed limit on a motorway is 70. The speed limit on a dual carriageway is also 70. On a single carriageway is 60. And residential area streets, 30. Okay, so that would be 70. Just remember, if they ask you about trailer or caravan, then we minus 10. So if this question was about if you're towing a trailer or a caravan, then it would have been minus 10. So 70 minus 10 would have been 60. But 70. Walaikum salam.
When must you use dipped headlights during the day? When you're driving along narrow streets. All the time you're driving. When you're driving in poor visibility. When you're parking.
When must you use dipped headlights during the day? when you're driving in poor visibility. Does anyone know what does it really means when you're driving in poor visibility? So daytime poor visibility. For example, you know when it gets cloudy. See when it gets cloudy, کله چې کو خیال مو کړی وریځ چې راشي یا باران وشي هم لږه تیاره شي نه په هغه ټیم کې باید موږ dipped headlights use کو. So when you're driving in poor visibility, no बिलाल भाई वो नहीं है. All the time when you're driving नहीं. हमेशा के लिए आप डे टाइम में लाइट्स यूज नहीं करते. जब थोड़ी सी तारीखी हो जाती है जैसे बादल आ जाते हैं या बारिश होती है तो तब. Okay, so when you're driving in poor visibility.
You're at the scene of an incident. How could you help someone who's suffering from shock? Reassure them confidently. Give them a warm drink. Offer them some food. Offer them a cigarette.
You're at the scene of an incident. How could you help someone who's suffering from shock? Reassure them confidently. Reassure them confidently.
What type of vehicle uses an amber flashing beacon on a dual carriageway? An ambulance. A fire engine. A tractor. A doctor on call.
What type of vehicle uses amber flashing beacon? So all the slow moving vehicle, they use amber flashing beacon. All the emergency services, they use blue flashing beacon apart from doctor. So Dr. Car will have green flashing beacon. The rest of the emergency services blue, and all the slow moving vehicles will have amber flashing beacon. So the tractor is, so ambulance blue, fire engine blue, tractor amber, doctor on call green. Make sure you know the answers for all the questions, okay, for all these. So you should know what color flashing beacon they use on ambulance and also on fire engine and also on these. So tractor was amber flashing beacon.
What must you do when you hitch an unbraked trailer to a towing vehicle? Make sure you can see the trailer in the mirrors. Grease the tow ball and hitch. Fit a secondary coupling device. Switch off the reversing sensor on the towing vehicle.
So if you're towing an unbraked trailer to your vehicle, what should you do? You should fit an extra coupling device. You should fit a secondary coupling device. So an extra coupling device.
What will be a serious distraction while you're driving? Looking at road maps. Looking in your door mirror. Switching on your demister. Using your windscreen washers.
So what will divert your attention when you're driving? What will divert your attention when you're driving? Obviously, if you're looking at road maps, it will divert your attention. So what do we have to do? We have to set it before we start the journey. So looking at road maps would be the right answer.
What does this sign mean? Adverse camber. Uneven road. Steep hill upwards. Steep hill downwards.
What does this sign mean? Is it steep hill upwards or is it steep? I think this one is steep hill downwards. It's not steep hill upwards. I think it's downward, it's not upwards. Right up, left down, right up, left down. Yeah, this is steep hill downwards, I believe. I'm not 100% sure about this one, but 95% I think it's downwards. Because, yeah, I think it's downwards.
Which plate may appear with this road sign?
Which plate may appear with this road sign? So that's a road hump. Okay, and you will see humps for half a mile. So what does it mean? It means if you see this sign and this sign got this plate under it, it would mean that when you enter this road where you see this sign, there will be humps for half a mile. So humps for half a mile.
What color are the reflective studs between a motorway and a slip road? red, green, amber, white.
What color are the reflective studs between motorway and a slip road? Okay, the answer is green, but does anyone know why it's green? Why not red? Why not amber? Why not white? So why it's green between the slip road and the motorway? Does anyone know the reason? Why there are green studs between the motorway and slip road? The answer is through slip road we enter the motorway, and also through slip road we leave the motorway. So the entry points and the exit points of the motorway will have green studs. Same as like on a green traffic light, we can go on a green traffic light only. So that's how we can only go inside the motorway through green studs, and also we go out of the motorway through green studs. So that's why it's green. Why do motorway have red studs in the left hand side? Because motorway is a no stopping route. Whole motorway is a red route. You're not allowed to stop on a motorway apart from emergency or asked by a traffic officer or police officer, or if the traffic lights are advising to stop. So the red studs, why do we have red studs in the left hand side? Because motorway is a red route. You see, normally when you see a red route, there will be red lines in the left hand side when there is a no stopping route. Same as like that, motorway is also a red route. That's why we have red studs in the left hand side. Okay, and you see in the middle of the motorway we have white studs. Why do we have white studs? Same as like on the other road, you have white lines in the middle of the road. Same as like that in the motorway, we have white studs in the middle of the road. This is very easy to remember. So slip road and motorway, green.
You're the first person to arrive at an incident where people are badly injured. You've switched on your hazard warning lights and checked all engines are stopped. What else should you do? Move the people who are injured clear of their vehicles. Stop other cars and ask the drivers for help. Make sure that an ambulance has been called. Try and get people who are injured to drink something.
So you are the first person to arrive at the incident. So obviously your priority would be first to warn the traffic, to stop the traffic. That's your priority. So but it says the engine, you see, they are stopped. So the traffic has stopped. That's already been done. So what's the next option what you have to do? You have to call the emergency services. So make sure the ambulance has been called. Make sure that an ambulance has been called.
You arrive at the scene of a crash where someone is bleeding heavily from a wound in their arm. Nothing is embedded in the wound. What could you do to help? Apply pressure over the wound. Dab the wound. Walk them around and keep them talking. Get them a drink.
You arrive at the scene of a crash where someone is bleeding heavily from a wound in their arm. Nothing is embedded in their wound. What could you do to help? You see, it says bleeding heavily. That's the main point of this question. If someone is bleeding heavily, the only option you have to put pressure over the wound to stop the blood flow. You see? Bleeding heavily. So if someone is bleeding heavily, the only option we have to apply pressure to stop the blood flow. Make sure all the answers make sense, okay? If it doesn't make sense, it's not the right answer. So apply pressure over the wound. Why? To stop the blood flow, because it's bleeding heavily.
What should you do as you approach this lorry? Make the lorry wait for you. Move to the right-hand side of the road. Slow down and be prepared to wait. Flash your lights at the lorry.
What should you do as you approach this lorry? So if you're driving and you see this lorry coming out from the side road, what should you do? Obviously, you have to stop and allow the lorry to turn. So slow down and be prepared to wait. Slow down and be prepared to wait. Make sure, do not memorize these answers, guys, because when you go to test, they might change these answers. So what should you do as you approach this lorry? You have to slow down and allow this vehicle to turn. So slow down and be prepared to wait. So they make sure you do not memorize the answer. Understand the situation, understand the question and the answers, And just remember the reasons behind the answers, okay? You only need to remember the reasons behind the answers.
What does it mean if your trailer has a maximum authorized mass, MAM, of 3,500 kilograms? Your trailer and towing vehicle combined cannot weigh more than 3,500 kilograms. Your trailer and load combined cannot weigh more than 3,500 kilograms. Your trailer can carry a load of 3,500 kilograms. Your empty trailer weighs 3,500 kilograms.
What does it mean if your trailer has a maximum authorized mass of 3,500 kg? So 3,500 kg, that's the weight of the trailer plus the load in the trailer. So the trailer plus the load should not exceed more than 3,500 kg. Your trailer and the load combined cannot weigh more than 3,500 kg.
Your vehicle broke down on the hard shoulder of a motorway, but has now been repaired. How should you rejoin the main carriageway? Wait on the hard shoulder until someone flashes their headlights at you. Gain speed on the hard shoulder before moving out onto the carriageway. Move out onto the carriageway, then build up your speed. Move out onto the carriageway using your hazard warning lights.
Your vehicle broke down on the hard shoulder of a motorway, but has now been repaired. How should you rejoin the main carriageway? So when you fix your vehicle on the hard shoulder, how do you join the motorway? You start driving on the motorway. Once you gain speed, once your speed is same as the speed that's in the same as the speed of the vehicles that's traveling in the left-hand side of the motorway, then you enter the motorway. So gain speed or build up speed. Gain speed or build up speed is the same thing. On the hard shoulder before moving out onto the carriageway. What would be the answer if your vehicle broke down on the emergency refuge area but has now been repaired? How should you rejoin the main carriageway? If the question was not about the hard shoulder, if this was about the emergency refuge area. So if you fix your vehicle in the emergency refuge area, what do you do? Does anyone know the answer for that? So in here it says hard shoulder. But obviously you can gain speed on the hard shoulder, but you can't gain speed in the emergency refuge area. So what do? You call the emergency services. Well done, Farah. So you call the emergency services, and what will they do? They will close one lane for you, okay? So they will close one lane so you can enter the motorway or the dual carriageway. So that's why we call the emergency services, so they can block one lane for us and we enter the motorway or the dual carriageway. So gain, and the reason is because emergency refuge area is only like say 30 meters or 40 meters, so you cannot gain speed there. So make sure you guys understand the reasons behind the answers, okay? Questions are important, answers are also important, but the main important thing is the reasons behind the answers. Why the reasons? Because once you know the reasons behind the answers, then it kind of gets cemented in your brain. You won't forget it. So gain speed on the hard shoulder before moving up to the carriage.
You're planning to tow a caravan. What will help the handling of the combination? A jockey wheel fitted to the tow bar. A stabilizer fitted to the tow bar. Power steering fitted to the towing vehicle. Anti-lock brakes fitted to the towing vehicle.
You're planning to tow a caravan. What will help the handling of the combination or the controlling of the combination? So how can you bring stability to it? It's very easy. You see, so once you understand the question properly, you can find the answer. So how can you give it control or stability? Or how can you handle the combination? By fitting the stabilizer. So once you fit the stabilizer to the tow bar, that helps in handling the combination. So a stabilizer fitted to the tow bar. A stabilizer fitted to the tow bar.
A single carriageway road has this sign. What's the maximum permitted speed for a car towing a trailer? 50 miles per hour. 30 miles per hour, 40 miles per hour, 60 miles per hour.
A single carriageway road has this sign. What's the maximum permitted speed for a car towing a caravan? Okay, so if you see this sign anywhere, okay, if you see this sign anywhere and there is no central reservation on that road, the speed limit will be 60. And if you're towing a trailer or caravan, then the speed limit will be -10, which is 60 minus 10, that's 50. Okay.
You stop on the hard shoulder of a motorway and use the emergency telephone. Where's the best place to wait for help to arrive? With your vehicle. Next to the phone. On the hard shoulder. Well away from the carriageway.
You stop on the hard shoulder of a motorway and use the emergency telephone. Where is the best place to wait for help to arrive? So when you're waiting, where should you wait? You should wait far away from the motorway for your safety. So well away from the carriageway. Carriageway means road, okay? Carriageway means road. So where do you wait? Away from the carriageway. Reason? For your safety. Make sure you always know the reasons behind the answers, okay? So if you don't know the reasons, it becomes hard to remember the answers in question. So well away from the carriage.
You're on a road that's only wide enough for one vehicle. What should you do if a car is coming towards you? Force the other driver to reverse. Pull into a passing place on your left. Pull into a passing place on your right. Pull into a passing place if your vehicle is wider.
You're on a road that's only wide enough for one vehicle. What should you do if a car is coming towards you? अगर सड़क इतनी छोटी हो कि उस पे एक ही गाड़ी आ सकती है, तो आपको क्या करना चाहिए जब आगे से गाड़ी आ जाए? तो जो पासिंग प्लेस होता है लेफ्ट साइड पे, आप वहां जाके रुके कि आगे से गाड़ी आके पास हो जाए. सो पुल इनटू अ पासिंग प्लेस on your left. The passing place on the right hand side is for the traffic that's coming. That's for the oncoming traffic. We can only use the passing place that's in the left hand side. So pull into the passing place on your left.
What should you do when you're driving along a road that has a series of road humps? Stay at a reduced speed for the whole stretch of road. Brake firmly when you reach each road hump. Set your car's cruise control. Vary your speed between each road hump.
What should you do when you're driving along a road that has a series of road humps? So if any road got road humps, you have to drive at a slow speed on that road. So the answer would be stay at a reduced speed for the whole stretch of the road.
What does this sign mean? Leave motorway at next exit. Rest area for lorries. All lorries use the hard shoulder. Lane for heavy and slow vehicles.
Okay, what does this sign mean? This is crawler lane, and it's also called climbing lane. It's also called climbing lane, okay? And what's this for? It's for lane for heavy and slow vehicle. Why do we have this extra lane? Why do we have this extra lane? We have this extra lane on a steep gradient. Why? So the heavy vehicle or the slow vehicle does not affect the speed limit of the cars that's traveling in the other lanes. That's why we have an extra lane or crawler lane or climbing lane for heavy and slow vehicles. So they do not interrupt the speed limits in the other lanes, or not to slow down their speed in of the vehicles that are traveling in the other lane. So that's why we have an extra lane in the left hand side for heavy and slow vehicles.
What does it mean if the signs at a bus lane show no times of operation? The lane is in operation 24 hours a day. The lane is only in operation at peak times. The lane is only in operation in daylight hours. The lane is not in operation.
Oh, Shaq, wish you all the best, bro. What does it mean if the signs at a bus lane show no times of operation? So if there is no times of operation, it means it's active 24 hours a day. Okay, so that's the lane is in operation 24 hours a day.
What should you do if your anti-lock brakes, ABS, warning light stays on? Check that the parking brake is released. Check the brake fluid level. Check the foot brake free play. Have the brakes checked immediately.
What should you do if your anti-lock brakes warning light stays on? If any warning light stays on, you have to fix the problem, isn't it? So have the brakes checked immediately. Have the brakes checked immediately. په ډاشبورډ باندې چې هر یو ساين ورکي باید هغه هر مسلې چې بیا څومره زر چې کولای شي او خوندي طریقې سره کولای شي باید حل کړي. Have the brakes checked immediately.
What will affect your vehicle's stopping distance? The condition of the tires, the time of day, the speed limit, the street lighting.
What will affect your vehicle's stopping distance? The conditions of the tires.
Why should you test your brakes after this hazard? Your brakes will be wet. You'll be going down a long hill. You'll be on a slippery road. You'll have just crossed a long bridge.
Why should you test your brakes after this hazard? What's this hazard? That's water across the road. And obviously when you go through water across the road, your brakes will be wet. And when brakes are wet, it does not work properly. So you have to dry it before you start your journey. So why should you test your brakes after this hazard? Because it will be wet. The brakes will be wet.
How should you signal if you're going straight ahead at a roundabout? Signal right on the approach to the roundabout and keep the signal on. Signal left just after you pass the exit before the one you're going to take. Signal left after you leave the roundabout and enter the new road. Signal right on the approach and then left to leave the roundabout.
How should you signal if you're going straight ahead at a roundabout? So if you're going straight ahead at the roundabout, when should you signal? Signal left before leaving the roundabout. That's one answer. So you signal left before you leaving the roundabout. And the second answer is signal left just after you pass the exit before the one you are going to take. Shak, if you're here, this is one of the most common question that comes in the test. This one and the other one is, how does alcohol affect your driving? These two are, they definitely come. And I'll show you a few questions at the end, okay?
What should you do if you start to feel drowsy while you're driving on a motorway? Slow down and let other drivers overtake. Speed up to arrive at your destination sooner. Open a window and stop as soon as it's safe and legal. Stop on the hard shoulder for a sleep.
What should you do if you start to feel drowsy while you're driving on a motorway? Drowsy means sleepy. Drowsy mana khobawale. Tasu le khob darshi driving kawai. No, by such okay. Obviously stop driving. You have to stop driving. So that's the base answer. You have to stop driving. And let's see what matches that, okay? So slow down and let other drivers overtake. No, speed up to arrive at your destination. No, I said stop driving. Open windows, stop as soon as it's safe and legal. You see? It's very easy. You see these kind of questions. So if you feel drowsy, if you're not feeling good, if there is anything wrong with your health or you tired, what do? The answer would be stop driving. And then go and find the answer that's matching that. So open window and stop as soon as it's safe and legal.
You've just been overtaken by this motorcyclist. What should you do if the rider cuts in sharply? Flash your lights. Keep a safe gap. Sound the horn. Brake firmly.
You've just been overtaken by this motorcyclist. What should you do if the rider cuts in sharply? So one answer is keep a safe gap. Does anyone know any other answer for this question? For the same question, is there any right answer which is not in here? Does anyone know? So keep a safe gap. That's the right answer. The other answer would be stay calm. Stay calm. That would also be the right answer. keep wheel back, that's also the right answer. So this question can have so many right answers, okay? So make sure you understand it, okay? Yeah, leave room or give him room. Yeah, that's also the right answer. So make sure you understand the question, the answers, and the reasons behind the answer. So keep a safe gap.
You've just passed your first practical driving test. What will you have to do if you get 6 penalty points on your license in the next 2 years? Retake only your practical test. Retake your theory and practical tests. Reapply for your full license immediately. Retake only your theory test.
If you take 6 penalty points after passing your test within 2 years, what happens? You lose everything and you start from zero. که تاسو لایسنس پاس کی او اولنی 2 کلونو کې شپږ پوینټ واخلي، واپس هم هر څه صفر ته راځي، بیرته به د سر نه شروع کوئ. معنا څه؟ theory test او plus practical دواړه به کوئ. So if you get 6 penalty points within 2 years passing your test, you're getting your license, what you have to do? You start from zero again. So you have to do theory plus practical as well. So retake your theory and practical tests.
Why should you check for motorcyclists just before turning right into a side road? They may be overtaking on your left. They may be emerging from the side road. They may be following you closely. They may be overtaking on your right.
Why should you check for motorcyclists just before turning right into a side road? So if you're turning right, they may be overtaking on your right. Make sure, guys, you do not get mixed up in these, okay? So if it says, why should you check for motorcyclists just before turning left into a side road? Then the answer would have been, they may be overtaking on your left. So why should you check for motorcyclists just before turning right into a side road? They may be overtaking on your right. Make sure you read the question properly. So if they change turning right into turning left, then the answer would have been, they may be overtaking on your left. If it says right, then obviously we choose they may be overtaking on your right.
You're about to start a journey towing a trailer. What should you do if you notice that a light on your trailer is not working? Book the trailer in for repair before continuing with your journey. Repair the fault before continuing with your journey. Continue with your journey because the lights on your car are working. Disconnect the trailer electrical coupling before continuing with your journey.
So if the light on your trailer is not working, what do you have to do? You have to fix it. You cannot drive with if the lights are not working, okay? So make sure the lights are fixed before you start the journey. So the answer would be repair the fault before continuing with your journey. Okay? A lot of people make mistake and they choose book the trailer in for repair before continuing with your journey. That does not mean you fix it before you started the journey. So repair the fault before continuing with your journey. Yeah, because it says, you see, it says book the trailer. That does not mean you fix it. See, it's just booking. So what you have to do, you have to repair it, not just book it. You have to repair it, repair the fault before continuing with your journey. Make sure you see these answers should make sense, okay? Should make sense. So repair the fault before continuing with your journey.
The road outside this school is marked with yellow zigzag lines. What do these lines mean? You may park on the lines when dropping off school children. You should not wait or park your vehicle here. You may park on the lines when picking up school children. You must stay with your vehicle if you park here.
The road outside this school is marked with yellow zigzag lines. What do these lines mean? You're not allowed to park in here or wait in here. Why? Because you will block the view of the students to see the drivers, and also the drivers will not be able to see the children when they're crossing the road. So the answer is, you should not wait or park your vehicle here. You should not wait or park your vehicle here.
What must you do when you're overtaking a car at night? Select a higher gear. Make sure you do not dazzle other road users. Flash your headlights before overtaking. Switch your headlights to main beam before overtaking.
What must you do when you're overtaking a car at night? Make sure you do not dazzle other road users. Make sure you do not dazzle other road users. چې کله د شپې تاسو بل موټر نه overtake کوئ نو باید تاسو د نورو ډرایورانو سترګې ونه برېښوئ. Make sure you do not dazzle other road users.
What will happen if you use rear fog lights in good conditions? They'll make it safer when towing a trailer. They'll protect you from larger vehicles. They'll make drivers behind keep back. They'll dazzle other drivers.
What will happen if you use rear fog lights in good conditions? You see, rear fog lights, they're very bright and they're red and very bright. So what it does, they will dazzle other drivers. Why would they dazzle other drivers? Because they are very bright, okay? And if the conditions are good, they will dazzle other drivers.
What will happen if you follow this vehicle too closely? Your view ahead will be reduced. Your fuel consumption will be increased. Your brakes will overheat. Your engine will overheat.
What will happen if you follow this vehicle too close? So if you get too close, you will not be able to see what's ahead. And the other answer for the same question, does anyone know any other answer for the same questions? For this question, what will happen if you follow this vehicle too closely? The answer would be, the driver of this vehicle will not be able to see us in his or her mirrors. If you get too close, this driver will not be able to see us in his or her mirrors. So your view ahead will be reduced. Well done. Goodie bag.
You're on a motorway. A lorry has stopped in the right-hand lane. What should you do when you see this sign on the lorry? Stop behind the flashing lights. Pass the lorry on the left. Move into the right-hand lane. Leave the motorway at the next exit.
Okay, so for example, this is one lane, this is another lane, and this is another lane, and that's... So for example, there are 4 lanes. 1 lane, 2 lane, 3 lane, 4 lanes on the motorway. And we see this sign in the right-hand lane. So there is a lorry with this sign in this lane. So what do we have to do? As I'm driving, if I see this sign, what do I have to do? I have to move to the left lane. You see? Because it's pointing to the left. So what we have to do? We have to pass the lorry on the left. Pass the lorry on the left.
You're waiting to emerge at a junction. Your view is restricted by parked vehicles. What can help you to see traffic on the road you're joining? Looking for traffic behind you. Reflections of traffic in windows. Making eye contact with other road users. Checking for traffic in your interior mirror.
You're waiting to emerge at a junction. Your view is restricted by parked vehicles. What can help you to see traffic on the road you're joining? Okay. The answer is reflection of traffic in windows. But do you know what does it mean? Reflection of traffic in windows. Reflection of traffic in windows. Make sure you know the answers, okay? And you know the reasons behind the answer. Guys, do you understand what does it really mean, reflection of traffic in windows? If you don't know, let me just explain it. Reflection of traffic in windows. Reflection of traffic in windows. A lot of people know the answer, but they don't really know what does it mean. So that's the reflection of traffic in windows. So you can see the reflection of traffic in the car windows, or you can see it in building windows. Okay, that's the reflection of. So for example, if you're turning right at the end of a road and you cannot see the traffic, so what do you have to do? You can get help from reflection of traffic in windows. That could be car windows, it could be a building windows, it could be any other glass, or the shop fronts. So reflection of traffic in windows.
You're parked on the road at night. When must you use parking lights? When the speed limit exceeds 30 miles per hour. When there are continuous white lines in the middle of the road. When you're near a bus stop. When you're facing oncoming traffic.
We are parked on the road at night. When must you use parking lights? So if the speed limit outside, so for example, if the speed limit outside your house is 40 miles per hour, and you want to park your vehicle and you want to leave it at night there, so what do you have to do? You have to leave the parking light switched on. Why? Because the speed limit of the road is so high, if you do not leave the parking light switched on, it will be hard for drivers to see your vehicle from far. So that's why you leave the parking lights on to secure your car so they do not hit your car. So the answer would be when the speed limit is more than 30 miles. It could be 40, it could be 50, but if it's more than 30, you leave the parking lights on for the safety of your vehicle.
What do the white diagonal stripe markings in the middle of the road mean? You should not enter the area unless it's necessary and you can see it's safe. No overtaking. You must not enter the area unless it's an emergency. It's an overtaking area for motorcyclists.
What do the white diagonal stripe marking in the middle of the road mean? Okay, watch this again, guys. Okay, so these, why do we have this in here? Does anyone know why do we have this area in here? This is for the traffic that's turning right. Okay, this area is for the traffic that is turning right. So you should not enter the area unless it's necessary and you can see it's safe. Okay, and remember, if these, you see these broken white lines, if this was red lines, then what would it be in the answer? So think of, if this was not white lines, if this was red lines, then what would it be in the answer? So for example, you see these ones, if these were red, then the answer would have been you must not enter the area unless it's an emergency. Okay, just remember that. In case if instead of these white lines, if you should only enter for emergencies. Exactly, if it's red lines, okay, make sure if it's red lines you can only enter an emergency. If it's white lines, then you can enter if it's necessary and you know it's safe. You should not enter the area unless it's necessary and you can see it's safe. And why do we have this area here? It's for the traffic that's turning right. So for example, you turning right, there's a vehicle coming straight ahead from there. So what you can do, you can wait in here so the vehicle can pass you in the left hand side. So you should not enter the area unless it's safe, it's necessary, and you can see it's safe.
An injured motorcyclist is lying unconscious in the road. The traffic has stopped and there's no further danger. What could you do to help? Remove their safety helmet. Remove their leather jacket. Move the person off the road. Seek medical assistance.
An injured motorcyclist is lying unconscious in the road. The traffic has stopped and there is no further danger. What could you do to help? Okay, the answer is seek medical assistance. What does it mean, seek medical assistance? Seek medical assistance. Oh, when's the time finished? Okay, seek medical assistance means call the ambulance basically. Yeah, call the emergency services.